And when he opened the fifth seal, I saw under the altar the souls of those who were slain because of the word, and because of the testimony which they were maintaining. And they cried with a great voice, saying, How long, O Master, the Holy One and the Dependable One, are you not judging and exacting vengeance for our blood from those who dwell upon the earth? And there was given to each one of them a white robe, and it was told them that they should rest yet for a little time, until there shall also be fulfilled the martyrdom of their fellow bondslaves, and their brethren who were destined to be killed as they themselves also were killed. And I saw when he opened the sixth seal, and there occurred an earthquake, a great one, and the sun became black as sackcloth made of hair, and the entire moon became as blood. And the meteors of the heaven fell to the earth as fig trees casts its unripe figs when it is being shaken by a strong wind. And the heaven was removed like a scroll when it is rolled up, and every mountain and island were moved out of their places. And the kings of the earth and the princes and the chiliarchs and the rich men and the strong men and every slave and free man hid themselves in the caves and in the rocks of the mountains. And they say to the mountains and to the rocks, Fall on us at once, and hide us quickly from the presence of him who is seated upon the throne, and from the wrath of the Lamb, because the great day of their wrath has come, and who is able to stand? After this I saw 4 angels standing on the 4 corners of the earth, holding firmly the 4 winds of the earth, lest the wind keep on blowing upon the land, or upon the sea, or upon any tree. And I saw another angel ascending from the rising of the sun, having a seal of the living God. And he cried with a great voice to the 4 angels, to whom there was given authority to injure the land and the sea, saying, Do not begin to injure the land, nor the sea, nor the trees, until we shall have sealed the bondslaves of our God upon their foreheads. And I heard the number of those who were sealed. 144,000 were sealed out of every tribe of the sons of Israel. From the tribe of Judah were sealed 12,000. From the tribe of Reuben, 12,000. From the tribe of Gad, 12,000. From the tribe of Asher, 12,000. From the tribe of Naphtali, 12,000. From the tribe of Manasseh, 12,000. From the tribe of Simeon, 12,000. From the tribe of Levi, 12,000. From the tribe of Issachar, 12,000. From the tribe of Zebulun, 12,000. From the tribe of Joseph, 12,000. From the tribe of Benjamin there was sealed 12,000. After these things I saw, and consider this, a great multitude which no one was able to count, out of every nation and tribe and people and language, standing before the throne and before the Lamb, clothed with white robes, and having palm branches in their hands. And they cry out with a great voice, saying, The salvation is to be ascribed to our God who is seated upon the throne and to the Lamb. And all the angels were standing in a circle around the throne, and the elders and the 4 living beings. And they fell down before the throne upon their faces and worshiped God, saying, Amen. The eulogy and the glory and the wisdom and the thanksgiving and the honor and the power and the might be to our God forever and forever. Amen. And one of the elders answered, saying to me, These who are clothed in the white robes, who are they, and from where did they come? And I said to him, My Lord, as for you, you know. And he said to me, These are they who come out of the tribulation, the great one, and they washed their robes and made them white in the blood of the Lamb. Because of this are they before the throne of God, and render sacred service to him day and night in his inner sanctuary. And he who is seated upon the throne shall spread a tent over them, to shelter them. They shall no longer hunger, nor even shall they thirst any longer. Nor shall the sun, nor any scorching heat strike upon them, positively not, because the Lamb in the midst of the throne shall shepherd them, and shall lead them to springs of water of life, and God shall wipe away every tear out of their eyes. And when he opened the seventh seal, there came a silence in heaven for about 1/2 hour. And I saw the 7 angels who had taken a stand before God and who were standing there. And there was given to them 7 trumpets. And another angel came and stood over the altar, holding a golden censer. And there was given to him much incense, in order that he might add it to the prayers of all the saints upon the golden altar which is before the throne. And the smoke of the incense went up together with the prayers of the saints out of the hand of the angel before God. And the angel has taken the censer, and he filled it with the burning coals out of the fire on the altar, and he threw them, the burning contents of the censer, into the earth. And there followed thunders and voices and lightnings and an earthquake. And the 7 angels who have the 7 trumpets prepared themselves for the purpose of sounding their trumpets. And the first sounded his trumpet, and there followed hail and fire mixed together in a shower of blood, and they were thrown into the earth. And the third part of the earth was burnt up, and the third part of the trees was burnt up, and all green grass was burnt up. And the second angel sounded his trumpet, and a mass as large as a great mountain burning with fire was thrown into the sea. And the third part of the sea became blood, and the third part of the creatures which were in the sea died, the ones having life. And the third part of the ships was destroyed. And the third angel sounded his trumpet, and there fell out of the heaven a great meteor blazing like a torch. And it fell upon the third part of the rivers and upon the springs of the waters. And the name of the meteor was the wormwood. And the third part of the waters became wormwood, and many of the men died by reason of the waters, because they had become bitter. And the fourth angel sounded his trumpet, and the third part of the sun was dealt a blow, also the third part of the moon, also the third part of the stars, in order that the third part of these might be darkened, and to the end that the day might not be illuminated for a third part of its duration, and in like manner the night. And I saw, and I heard an eagle flying in mid-heaven, saying with a great voice, Woe, woe, woe to those who are dwelling on the earth, because of the remaining voices of the trumpet of the 3 angels who are about to be sounding their trumpets. And the 5th angel sounded his trumpet, and I saw a meteor of the heaven which had fallen into the earth. And to him there was given the key of the shaft leading down to the bottomless place. And he opened the shaft of the bottomless place, and there arose smoke out of the shaft like smoke of a great furnace. And the sun and the lower atmosphere were darkened by reason of the smoke of the shaft. And out of the smoke there came grasshoppers into the earth. And there was given to them power like the power which the scorpions of the earth possesses. And it was told them that they should not injure the grass of the earth, nor any green vegetation, nor any tree, only such men as do not have the seal of God on their foreheads. And to them there was given a charge that they should not kill them, but that they should be tortured 5 months. And in their torture is like the torture of a scorpion when it strikes a man. And in those days the men shall seek death, and shall by no means find it, and they shall long to die, and death flees from them. And the resemblances of the grasshoppers were similar to those of horses, which have been prepared for war, and upon their heads were as it were victors' crowns, which resembled gold, and their faces were like the faces possessed by men, and they were having hair like the hair of women, and their teeth were like those of lions, and they were having a breastplate like a breastplate of iron, and the sound of their wings was like the sound of moving chariots of many horses running into battle. And they have tails like those of scorpions and stings, and in their tails there resides the power to injure the men 5 months. They have over them as king the angel of the bottomless place. His name in Hebrew is Abaddon, the destroyer, and in Greek he has a name, Apollyon, the destroyer. The one woe has passed. Consider this, there comes yet a second woe after these things. And the 6th angel sounded his trumpet, and I heard a voice out of the 4 horns of the golden altar which is before God, saying to the 6th angel who has the trumpet, set free at once the 4 angels who have been bound at the river, the great river, the Euphrates. And the 4 angels were set free who had been kept in readiness for the hour and day and month and year, in order that they should kill the 3rd part of the men. And the number of the armies of the horsemen was 200 million. I heard the number of them. And after this manner I saw the horses in my vision, and those seated upon them having breastplates of fire, and of jacinth, and of brimstone. And the heads of the horses were like the heads of lions, and out of their mouths there proceeds fire and smoke and brimstone. By these 3 plagues there was killed the 3rd part of the men, by the fire and the smoke and the brimstone which proceeds out of their mouths. For the power of the horses is in their mouths and in their tails, for their tails were like snakes having heads, and by means of them they cause injury. And the rest of the men, those who were not killed by these plagues, did not have a change of mind, which would cause them to abandon the works of their hands, with the result that they would not worship the demons and the idols of gold and silver and brass and stone and wood, which are not able to be seeing, nor to be hearing, nor to be walking. Neither did they have a change of mind regarding their murderers. Neither did they have a change of mind regarding their murders, nor their magical arts, nor their fornications, nor their thefts, which would cause them to abandon them. And I saw another angel, a powerful one, descending out of the heaven, clothed with a cloud. And the colored halo, shining with a radiance, was over his head, and his face was like the sun, and his feet were like pillars of fire. And he has in his hand a little scroll, which was unrolled. And he placed his foot, the right one, upon the sea, and the left one upon the land. And he cried with a great voice, just as a lion roars. And when he cried, the 7 thunders uttered their own voices. And when the 7 thunders uttered their voices, I was about to begin to be writing. And I heard a voice out of the heavens saying, place a seal at once upon the things which the 7 thunders said, and do not begin to write them. And the angel whom I saw standing on the sea and on the land raised his right hand to heaven and placed himself under oath, swearing by the one who lives forever and forever, who created the heaven and the things in it, and the earth and the things in it, and the sea and the things in it, that there should be no longer any delay or respite, but in the days of the voice of the 7th angel, when he is about to begin to be sounding his trumpet, then the mystery of God has been fulfilled, even as he proclaimed this mystery as good news to his own bondslaves, the prophets. And the voice which I heard out of the heaven, I heard again speaking with me and saying, be going and take at once the scroll, the one that has been opened, which is in the hand of the angel who was standing on the sea and on the land. And I went off to the angel, saying to him that he should give me at once the little scroll. And he says to me, take it at once and eat it up, and it shall make your stomach bitter, but in your mouth it shall be sweet as honey. And I took the little scroll out of the hand of the angel and ate it up. And it was in my mouth like honey, sweet. And when I ate it, my stomach was made bitter. And they say to me, it is a necessity in the nature of the case for you again to prophesy concerning peoples and nations and languages and many kings. And there was given to me a reed like a stick. And one said, Be arising, and measure at once the inner sanctuary of God, the holy place, and the holy of holies, and the altar, and those who are worshipping in it. But the court which is outside of the inner sanctuary leave out of your calculations, and do not begin to measure it, because it was given to the nations. And the city set apart for the worship and service of God, they shall trample in contempt and disdain 42 months. And I will give authority to my 2 witnesses, and they shall prophesy 1,260 days, clothed in sackcloth. These are the 2 olive trees and the 2 lampstands, who have taken their stand before the Lord of the earth. And if, as is the case, anyone desires to injure them, fire proceeds out of their mouth and consumes their enemies. And if, as is the case, anyone shall desire to injure them, in this manner it is a necessity in the nature of the case for him to be killed. These have authority to shut up the heaven, and to the end that no rain may be falling during the days of their prophecy. And they possess authority over the waters to be transforming them to blood, and to strike the land with every plague as often as they shall desire. And whenever they finish their testimony, the wild beast, the one who ascends out of the bottomless place, shall make war with them, and gain the victory over them, and shall kill them. And their dead bodies shall lie upon the streets of the city, the great one, which is of such a character that it is called allegorically Sodom and Egypt, where also their Lord was crucified. And they of the people and tribes and languages and nations keep looking at their dead bodies 3 days and 1/2. And they do not permit their dead bodies to be laid in a tomb. And those who dwell on the earth rejoice over them and make merry. And gifts they shall send to one another, because these 2 prophets tormented those who live upon the earth. And after 3 and 1/2 days, the breath of life from God entered them, and they stood on their feet. And a fear, a great one, fell upon those who were observing them with interest and purpose. And they heard a voice, a great one, out of heaven, saying to them, Come up here at once. And they ascended to heaven in the cloud, and their enemies viewed them with interest and purpose. And at the same hour there occurred an earthquake, a great one, and the 10th part of the city fell, and there were killed in the earthquake 7,000 persons. And the rest became terror-stricken and gave glory to the God of heaven. The 2nd woe is past. Consider this, the 3rd woe is coming shortly. And the 7th angel sounded his trumpet, and it came to pass that there were voices, great ones, in the heavens, saying, The kingdom of the world has come into the possession of our Lord and his Christ, and he shall reign as king forever and forever. And the 24 elders who are before God, seated on their thrones, fell upon their faces and worshiped God, saying, We give thanks to you, O Lord God, the omnipotent one, the one who is and who was, because you assumed your great power and reigned as king. And the nations became angry, and your wrath has come, and the time of the dead to be judged, and to give reward to your bondslaves the prophets, and to the saints, and to those who fear your name, to the small and to the great, and to destroy those who are destroying the earth. And the inner sanctuary of God, the one in heaven, was opened, and the ark of his testament was seen in his inner sanctuary. And there came lightnings and voices and thunders, and an earthquake and a hailstorm, a great one. And there became visible a miraculous portent, a great one in the heaven, a woman arrayed with the sun, and the moon was under her feet, and upon her head was a victor's crown of 12 stars. And she was with child, and she cried out, suffering birth pangs, in pain to give birth. And there became visible another miraculous portent in the heaven. And consider this, a dragon, a red one, a great one, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his heads 7 royal crowns. And his tail sweeps away the third of the stars of the heaven, dragging them away by force. And he threw them into the earth. And the dragon took his stand before the woman about to give birth, in order that whenever she would give birth, he might destroy her child. And she gave birth to a son, a male child, i.e., with the peculiar qualities of masculinity, power, and vigor, who was destined to be shepherding all the nations with a scepter of iron. And her child was snatched up to God and to his throne. And the woman fled into the uninhabited region, where she has there a place which is in a state of readiness, having been so prepared by God, in order that there might be providing her with food 1,260 days. And there arose a war in heaven. Michael and his angels went forth to do battle with the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels. Yet they did not have the power to win out. Neither was there found any longer place for them in the heaven. And the dragon, the great one, was thrown down once for all, the snake, the ancient snake, the one called the devil, slanderer, and Satan, the adversary, he who deceives the entire inhabited earth. He was thrown into the earth, and his angels were thrown down with him. And I heard a voice, a great one, in the heavens, saying, Now there has come to pass the salvation and the power and the kingdom of our God and the authority of his Christ, because he who accuses our brethren has been thrown down once for all, he who accuses them before our God day and night. And they themselves gained the victory over him through the blood of the Lamb and through the word of their testimony. And they did not consider their lives precious, and thus come to love them to the extent of death. They were willing to die a martyr's death. Because of this, be rejoicing, O heavens, and those who are dwelling in them. Woe to the land and the sea, because the devil went down to you having wrath, a great wrath, knowing that he has but a little time. And when the dragon saw that he was thrown into the earth, he persecuted the woman who gave birth to the male child. And there was given to the woman the 2 wings of the great eagle, in order that she might be flying into the uninhabited region, into her place, where she is being provided with food there a time and times and 1/2 a time, safe from the presence of the snake. And the snake threw water like a river out of his mouth after the woman, in order that he might sweep her away with the river. And the earth went to help of the woman. And the earth opened its mouth and swallowed up the river which the dragon threw out of his mouth. And the dragon was angry with the woman, and went off to wage war with the rest of her children, those who keep the commandments of God, and have the testimony of concerning Jesus. And he stood upon the sand of the sea. And I saw a wild beast coming up out of the sea, having 10 horns and 7 heads, and upon his horns 10 royal crowns, and upon his heads names, the essence of which is impious and reproachful speech, injurious to the divine majesty of deity. And the wild beast whom I saw resembled a leopard, and his feet were like those of a bear, and his mouth resembled a lion's mouth. And the dragon gave him the dragon's, miraculous power, and his throne and great authority. And one of his heads appeared to have been mortally wounded, the throat having been slashed. And his death stroke was healed. And the whole earth followed after the wild beast in amazement. And they worshipped the dragon because he gave the authority to the wild beast. And they worshipped the wild beast, saying, Who is like the wild beast, and who is able to go to war with him? And there was given to him a mouth, speaking great things, and things injurious and reproachful to the divine majesty of deity. And there was given him authority to operate 42 months. And he opened his mouth in a slanderous attack against God to his face, to defame his name and his dwelling place and those who dwell in heaven. And there was given to him permission to make war with the saints and to gain the victory over them. And there was given to him authority over every tribe and people and language and nation. And they shall worship him, all who dwell upon the earth, everyone whose name does not stand written in the scroll of the life, the scroll belonging to the Lamb who has been slain in the mind and purpose of God since the time when the foundations of the universe were laid, and who is looked upon by God as the slain Lamb at present. If, as is the case, anyone has ears, let him hear at once. If, as is the case, anyone leads others into captivity, he goes into captivity. If, as is the case, anyone kills with a sword, it is a necessity in the nature of the case for him to be put to death by a sword. Here is the endurance and fidelity of the saints. And I saw another wild beast of the same character coming up out of the earth. And he was having 2 horns like a lamb, but he was hissing like a dragon. And the authority of the first wild beast, all of it, he exercised in his sight. And he causes the earth and those who dwell on it to worship the wild beast, the first one, whose death stroke was healed. And he performs great miracles, the purpose of which is to attest the divine source of the words uttered by the one performing the miracle, even to the extent that he causes fire to be descending out of the heaven into the earth in the sight of the men. And he deceives those dwelling on the earth by means of the miracles which it was given him to perform in the sight of the wild beast, saying to those who are dwelling on the earth that they should make an image of the wild beast derived from his likeness. The wild beast who has scars of the death stroke made by the sword and yet came to life. Note, he was actually dead. And there was given to him the ability to give animation to the image of the wild beast, and to the end that also the image of the wild beast should utter words, and that it should cause as many as do not worship the image of the wild beast to be put to death. And he causes all, those who are lowly in station and those who are great, and those who are wealthy and those who are poverty-stricken, and those who are free men and those who are slaves, to be given a mark of identification upon their hand, the right one, or upon their forehead, to the end that no one should be able to buy or sell except he who has the mark of identification, consisting of the name of the wild beast or the number which stands for his name. Here is wisdom. He who has understanding, let him calculate at once the number of the wild beast, for the number is that of man, the human race, and his number is 666. And I saw, and consider this, the Lamb standing on the hill of Zion, and with him 144,000, having his name and the name of his Father permanently inscribed on their foreheads. And I heard a voice out of the heaven like a sound of many waters, and like a sound of a great thunder. And the sound which I heard was like that of harpists playing upon their harps. And they are singing a song new in quality before the throne, and before the 4 living beings and the elders. And no one was able to learn the song except the 144,000, those who had been redeemed out from the earth. These are they who were not defiled with women in any illicit way, for they are chaste individuals. These are they who follow with the Lamb wherever he may be going. These were redeemed from among men, first fruits to God and the Lamb. And in their mouth was not found a lie. They are without blemish. And I saw another angel flying in mid-heaven, having a message of good news, eternal in its character, to proclaim as glad tidings to those who live upon the earth, and to every nation and tribe and language and people, saying with a great voice, Fear God at once, and at once give him glory, because the hour of his judgment is come, and worship him at once who made the heaven and the earth, and sea, and springs of waters. And another angel, a second one, followed, saying, It has fallen, Babylon the Great, which has caused all the nations to drink of the wine of her fornication, and the wrath of God which accompanies it as its retribution. And another angel, a third one, followed them, saying with a great voice, If, as is the case, anyone worships the wild beast and his image, and receives a mark of identification upon his forehead or upon his hand, he shall also himself drink of the wine of the wrath of God, which has been poured out unmixed in the cup of his anger. And he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. And the smoke of, connected with, their torment ascends forever and forever. And they do not have rest day and night, those who worship the wild beast in his image. Also, as is the case, if anyone receives the mark of identification which consists of his name. Here is the endurance of the saints, namely, those who keep the commandments of God and the faith which they have in Jesus. And I heard a voice out of the heavens saying, Write at once, spiritually prosperous are the dead who die in the Lord from this time forward. Yes, says the Spirit, to the end that they may rest from their labors, for their works accompany them. And I saw, and consider this, a cloud, a white one, and upon the cloud one sitting, an appearance like a son of man, i.e., human in appearance, having upon his head a crown of victory, a golden one, and in his hand a sickle, a sharp one. And another angel came out of the inner sanctuary, crying with a great voice to him who was seated on the cloud, Thrust in your sickle at once, and reap quickly, because the hour to reap has come. For the reason that the harvest of the earth has become dry, and thus perfectly ripe. And he who was seated on the cloud thrust his sickle upon the earth, and the earth was reaped. And another angel came out of the inner sanctuary, the sanctuary in heaven, having also himself a sickle, a sharp one. And another angel came out of the altar, who has authority over the fire. And he cried with a great voice to the one who has the sharp sickle, saying, Thrust in your sharp sickle at once, and gather at once the bunches of grapes of the vine of the earth, for its bunches of grapes have become ripe. And the angel thrust his sickle into the earth, and he gathered the vintage of the earth